Hello, folks. Welcome to the Captain's Academy, where today we'll be going over the upgrade options for your newly acquired Seinar Fleet Systems TIE Enforcer. The TIE Enforcer is a level 7 unlock starter SV that features a reasonable upgrade path, including a number of devices that will help you get started as a starting player to Empyrion Galactic Survival. Those devices will include a O2 station, fridge. You're coming with Wi-Fi. There is a RCS built in. You also have a armor locker. Your cargo capacity coming out the gate is going to be 2,400 ammo and 2,400 harvest. Passenger seats. You do have compartments for upgrades, and well, let's have a look at those upgrades. So starting out, the cost is going to be, it's your standard 4 for a starter. A little bit heavy leaning on the carbon side, but fortunately, that does pay off in the end. It's, it's a unexpected cost, but it does give a decent upgrade range, so it's not going to be a one and done vehicle. You will get some life out of it. So, all right, well, let's have a look at that, starting with thrusters. Spawning in, it is somewhat sluggish, but it does, the performance does dramatically increase as you upgrade it, so we'll take a look at that. Alright, so starting with your dorsal mounts, we're looking at, so here you have options for either larges or mediums. So if you wanted to preserve some of the aesthetic value a little better, you just stay with mediums if that was your concern. Gotta get symmetry playing on here. If you were to go large, you just take those double pin blocks out there. That would look like is... Okay, that's your value there. So here, if we want to do the same thing, now we could just straight upgrade those mediums, or again, we're replace those with larges. That's an option if it wants to place. There we go. Fine. Okay. So I do have a if you want to maintain the RP element, I do have the true value or true black value set there, so you can just click on that. That's going to be what's that, the third from the right, second row from the bottom. So just click on that. Again, with the changes to the thrusters, you could black them out doing that, so should maintain some of that value if you want to do that, if that's your concern. Okay, so that would be your, actually I have another one here. Alright, yeah, just make sure and mind the X's, don't go past that. That's going to be your breakpoint. Okay, that's pretty much the same thing for the bottom. So, mediums if you want the true aesthetic value, or just go ahead and drop the larges in. It doesn't look too bad with the larges either, so. Yep, so not too bad. So for reverse, we got a pair of larges we can slot in. Now, next to the minigun is going to be the second lane for your large thrusters. So you don't want to go into the compartment here. This is going to be for your components, your shields and generators and stuff like that. So that's going to be your break point there. Again, if you want to preserve the value, you just stay at the mediums. But again, that doesn't look too bad. It's not impacting too badly on it. So, right. So, so with strafe, we have a couple options here. You know, you could go for 4 larges, or you could just go straight to the medium jet thruster. Again, here, just want to take out blocks so you get to the X's. So one of the things with the build is that it's there really isn't a whole hell of a lot of space, so you're gonna have to be sharing space with your compartment. So keep in mind that you know, as you level up, you can get access to a shield, and that should be relied on more heavily than trying to armor sustain, which is almost negligible. There's a little bit of steel around the cockpit, and some of the areas like blocking off the fuel tanks there. But for the most part, it's essentially plastic. The back of it leading in, this is an encasement of steel. And likewise for the front, this armor value here is steel, but otherwise it's plastic and true to form for the cinematic value, it can explode. So keep that in mind. Alright, so same thing for forward thrust. We had the option to drop in some jet thrusters, so giving us a pretty strong value there. So it sticks out a little bit, but yeah, overall the aesthetic value doesn't change too bad. It's maintains pretty good. The performance is going to be pretty wild now with all of that in there. Yep. So that's bumped up quite a bit. Of course, you're going to have to spend a lot of that into weight value in regards to additional turrets and weaponry, so that's going to eat up some. Let's see if we want to get this form back on the outside of the wings. We'll just get this little guy here. Yeah, this is the walkway, so that's what I had originally. Okay, so that's fine. Of course, again, you know, don't forget about this if you want to block out the thruster. Alright, easy peasy. So, good maneuverability monster now. True to form, this is a really good pocket fighter if you want it. An interceptor, if you will. Good values. Right, so moving on to weaponry, we got some decent options here. So we have your original gun lanes close to the cockpit there. Now we do have right below that towards the bottom. If you want to look for the block here, with the rivets, that's going to be your upgrade lane or your additional placement lane for weaponry. Go ahead and get that symmetry plane back on. Alright, and just drop back until you get to the X and don't go any further than that. So, okay, that's some additional gun mounts there for you. Bring you up to 4. Now, you have a couple options here. You could mount these as mounted weapons, or you could slot in some turrets if you want to do that. Okay, so that's an option there. Also at the bottom, this is turret placement. Or you could go radar there. Yeah, so not too bad. Not too bad. Pretty beefy. So the vehicle itself ties into another release coming up, a CV, the Apollyon Star Destroyer. And the configuration for that is I had a landing gear on the top so that it hangs from the ceiling, but spawning in, the landing gear is going to be on the bottom because I can't imagine, you know, not everybody's going to have that vehicle and or that particular CV, and it's going to be a little while before I put that in anyway. So, but if you want to, and when that release drops, you could always swap out the landing gear position, so you would just get rid of this guy here on the bottom. We have to obviously replace it with blocks, so clean up this clutter here. Right, just put that in. And so then what that also does is, once you place those blocks there, that'll open up another placement for a minigun or some other turret, or perhaps a radar. Okay, so moving inside, I'm gonna take a look at what we got. It's somewhat limited space, obviously, but you can get a little bit out of it. I think you can push core 9 if I remember correctly. But honestly, there's probably not enough ship here that you would need to get core 9. But we'll take a look at our options here. So constructor can be a thing if you want to put that inside as well. So what you'd want to do, or even if you want to put an additional CPU up here, you would just get rid of this block there, keep the light. So then you could slot in a constructor or additional CPU if you want to do that. So these are intended for CPU as well, so you just take these out. Or if you're not going to go CPU, just keep in mind you're going to want to have an airtight block here or device, whatever you put there. Because the Gatling gun is not, or any other weaponry is not going to be. So let's see. Start out with our improved. Go for a basic. This is CPU placement here as well, so you can drop your basic there. All right. Okay, so I have a slot there open for something else, so whatever you come up with. Maybe it could be a storage box or something. Or maybe you'd want to move the detector there. I think it's spot. Because then that way you could put one of these advanced generators in there, so it'd be an option to go with. Okay, so just presume we do that. Right, so there's a pair of advanced generator. Let's see, we're filled out on improved, so I guess we'd be looking at some advanced here. Okay, so that's 3 advanced. Now here we can go ahead and drop in our shield. Oop. Actually, want those shields on the bottom. Okay, so, we could continue with more CPU, or we could just start throwing in a couple shield arrays there if you wanted to do that. Yeah, again, not too big on the storage, but you might be able to get out one of these generators and drop some CPU in there. So, yeah, just be mindful. It's somewhat of a fragile build. Again, true to form, true to the cinematic value. I have done a little bit to mitigate some of the chain reactions, but yeah, it can be violent. So it's got to be careful with that. All right, so in regards to the attachment here, the landing gear, and the way that ties into the big boy we got coming up. Let's see if I can find out where that mothership got off to. Okay. Yep. So, so this is gonna be the parent vehicle to this. So you'd have a vertical mounted parking. So and that's another SV that gets cleared off the floor, so you're not going to have clutter there. You'll be able to use this floor space for other things. Yeah, nice little pocket fighter, something to start you out. A little bit of theme if you like Empire. It's another build out there for you to choose from. So it's a good blend of aesthetic and performance. All right, folks, that concludes this episode of the Captain's Academy featuring the TIE Enforcer. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and if you're willing to go the extra mile, there is a link to my Patreon in the pinned comment below. Patrons will receive insider exclusives, including additional blueprints and discussion regarding future and upcoming content and releases. So please take a minute, check it out. If you're interested, swing by. All right, folks, I'll catch y'all next time. LyfeForce out.